Hey, what's up, guys? It is Sunday morning at the Ramsey Custom Shop, and my name is Gary. Just out here about to get ready to get some stuff done for the day, and I just thought I'd make a quick shop update video. Show you guys a few things, what's going on, some plans, and if you notice, right when I walk in the door, we got something missing there. And I had, some of you know, a couple videos back, I mentioned that I'm selling the plasma table, and I had listed it on eBay in a few different areas, and didn't really get a lot of interest in the beginning. Like a week or two went by, and I think I might have gotten like one email request, and the person didn't really seem that serious. So, but then all of a sudden, like at the end of last week, end of last week, I started getting, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 different people asking about it and getting shipping quotes and things like that. So anyway, a guy named Stan and his dad, also named Stan, from Houston, came and picked it up. I'm overlaying a little bit of footage there of loading it. They brought their tractor, and we were able to get it loaded with that, emptying out the water and all that. But it was pretty close to, you know, being a little bit too heavy for that tractor. But we got it on there, and he sent me some pictures later of getting it home, and so I'm sure I'll be hearing from Stan. We spent a little time in training, you know, operations, how to use it and all that, and so yeah. I was about to cut some stuff this morning, and I'm having some difficulty. I think I might have caught a drive failure on this. Oh lordy, this actually might be the first real part failure. So if you notice, I got a red alarm there, and it's booting. It won't boot, basically. It's booting up, and you have to go into the BIOS, and if you go into the SATA controller, you can see there it's not showing any drives. So it's been a long time since I've done any PC repair stuff, but it's looking like that's what it is. So anyway, I'm supposed to be cutting some parts for Greg Porter that we've been working on, going back and forth on, cutting some samples, tweaking the design, and today was going to be the day. I was going to get out here and cut a few more samples of the changes, and then you know, and then go from there. But yeah, it hadn't worked out that way. You see my liquid nitrogen there, liquid oxygen there. Of course, the liquid oxygen doesn't need the dewar. It can go straight in. And I'm really pleased with that, how much I can cut with that. You know, and of course, you know, if you haven't seen my other video, it's oxygen's for mild steel and nitrogen is for aluminum and stainless. And if you see, I've shown this in videos, but if you see, right there is the vaporizer. So you know, it comes out of the liquid nitrogen cylinder and into the vaporizer, which turns it into a gas, and then back inside. So you got one line coming out and in. This is the inlet side here, and then that's the outlet side there, going back into the to the machine. So that thing's so big and all that, I've got it out here. They make some a lot smaller, but my gas supply company had that laying around, and they're renting it to me for $1 a day or $30 a month. So seems reasonable to me, but I may, you know, we'll see how it all works out. The other thing is that particular cylinder is a low pressure one. I mean, it'll hold about 200 and pretty consistently hold about 250 psi. But really, to get your best cuts with a laser, you need it up closer to 300. So once I get a tractor or forklift, whatever I'm going to do on that, I can get to what they call a laser cylinder, which will give me plenty of pressure. You know, and that's definitely still the plan. But anyway, so that is that, and you can see from Stan picking that up, man. I mean, I kind of made a mess in here. I'm not going to blame it on him. And then I've got this thing here that I had intended to make more of those, you know, kind of a slide out system to store my sheet metal, the 16 gauge that I use for metal art. It's kind of interesting, you know, I've all of a sudden picked up all this work laser cutting parts, and kind of going hand in hand with that. I don't get any orders right now for metal art. It's almost like it dried up completely. So of course I also haven't been promoting it or showing it, you know, and that's usually what triggers the orders in a lot of cases on that. A couple of sheets of aluminum I still have to get processed up. And yeah, so over here is a new addition. My brother his name's Michael Ramsey. He's got a YouTube channel. I'm going to do a video on this, and I'll link his channel for anybody that's a gaming PC geek. His channel is about, you know, gaming PCs and so forth, but he built me this replacement CAD computer, supposed to be, you know, super high powered. I don't, you know, I used to be a PC tech, but man, I kind of lost interest and I don't really follow it. But check out the heat sink on this bad boy. We had a little issue in shipping on that, and that came loose. I guess it's just so big for the way that it was mounted, or the type of mount that they give you for it. It probably should have been shipped in a separate container, but and then he's got the video card there, which is supposed to be a pretty nice one. So I'm going to do some comparisons of my older Windows computer and my Mac book. You know, like if I do a Fusion 360 render on that Mac, man, it's really struggles. And then in the Vectric 2D software, if I do an extended an auto nest with a lot of parts, it'll it causes some difficulty with that. So it'll be interesting to kind of compare the difference and see how that goes. So anyway, that's what we got going there. The one thing I wanted to say is, or talk about a little bit, if you see I've got this kind of empty, you know, space right here between the end of my building and heading on out to the road, and there's about 50 feet right there. So I'm actually going to build another shop building there. For one thing, that laser, well, let me go back in and talk about that a little bit, show you a little bit about that. You might like to see it. Somebody, you know, some guys don't care. I got so many different kinds of people following my channel. You know, I got car guys from the Mustang days. I've got machinists, and I almost never show any machining content anymore. You know, and, you know, plasma guys, laser guys. So if you look in there, you can see this is a downdraft system, and I've got these two, you know, pipes in there with the holes in it, and that's what, you know, that's what pulls the fumes out. And there is a port on the back right there for you to hook up your exhaust. And right on the other side of this wall is the paint booth. So I've ordered in, and guys, man, I got crap everywhere, as I've already complained about, but I've ordered in a few things here to get that hooked up. So I got that and a flexible hose. Both of those are 8-inch. That's a 6-inch outlet on that. I'm sure it's metric. I don't know what the metric equivalent is. And I'm going to get back to my story here about building a new shop in a minute, but I just thought I'd show you this. So, you know, this is kind of how I do things around here. But the main point is I don't have anything hooked up to that, and that laser puts off some seriously crazy fumes, and I'm not happy about it. Of course, I mean, it's nobody's fault. So the laser is just on the other side of that wall. So I'm going to run that flexible ducting through the wall and take down this setup here. You can see my filters need to be changed. Man, and you see the exhaust fan there, and I'll do some kind of a separate manifold with that flange and connect it right there, so that I can use this big powerful 24-inch fan to pull the fumes out. And that way, if I need to paint something, I could just disconnect the hose and, you know, maybe zip a couple of screws out of that framing I had on there and be ready to paint, and cover up the, you know, plug up the duct so that it doesn't try to, you know, pull anything out of that. But anyway, so I've got to get going on that, because pretty soon it's going to be summer. And right now in the winter, I just, you know, once I get it cut, and I just open up all the doors and close the door to the living area in there, and, you know, just let it run and do its thing. And that seems to be working out okay, although I definitely need to get something going with it. But anyway, you can see the space right here. This building is 40 feet that way and 80 feet that way. And then my little addition is like a 20 by 20 back there for the paint booth. So my plan is, and I've always, you know, kind of had short man's disease on this building here, with only being 10-foot ceilings and an 8-foot door. I'm sorry, 10-foot walls, and I think it's 11/6 in the middle. And but my door is 8 by 8, or it might be 8 by 10. You know, it's just always some kind of issue with that. It's not big enough, it's not tall enough, always having issues getting stuff in and out, and all that. So I am going to, this year sometime here, you know, later in the year, I'm going to start getting quotes here pretty soon. But I'm going to build another 40 feet. So it'll be 40 that way and another 40 this way. So it'll be 40 by 40. And I'm going to go like 16 feet high, and with a, you know, 14 or 16 foot door that's plenty wide, plenty big enough. And I'm going to move the laser over into this building, so that and then put, you know, I'll see how it goes if my paint and all that. I'll either get another one of those fans. I mean, it's an $800 or $900 fan, so I'll get another one of those fans, or maybe something different, you know, I don't know. But I'll have the laser all in its own building, and I won't be, you know, I'm gonna put the laser in here, and, you know, I'll be 50 years old later this year. You know, and you start to worry a little bit more about your health. You should always worry about your health, but I gotta say, I'm not really the best at that. Sometimes I just kind of do stuff, and, you know, things that, I mean, I don't smoke and I don't drink and, you know, stuff like that, but I just, you know, don't always wear a respirator when I'm grinding, you know, whatever, stuff like that. And I've not taken care of my lungs. There's no issues. I don't have any breathing issues that I know about. And I feel good and I feel healthy. I don't seem to feel, you know, any issues, but that doesn't mean that I won't eventually. So I want to move the belt sander over there, and the laser over there, and turn the laser long way so I can get a lot better access. And then also that would let me do a bridge crane in there as well. And while the building's being constructed, I'll have, you know, go ahead and put the right number of support beams in there and get it set up in a way where the installation of a bridge crane would be pretty easy to do. And I'm also, when I have the footing or the pad poured for that, to extend it on out a little bit more, so that it's, you know, so that I've got an area that would come out concrete and into that. So I could buy one of, you know, not have to get an all-terrain forklift. I could get a regular, like a warehouse forklift, and use it in both buildings, and I'd have extra space in here to store it with. But the one thing I really need it for is, as well as some metal storage. You know, you know, and I know that 40 by 40 sounds pretty good to only have the laser in there and the belt sander, which those are the two most contaminating things I do. But, you know, maybe have the laser in the back going that way, and some metal storage down, down this side. Is kind of what I'm thinking. And that way I can, store some different kinds of materials, because I mean, you get requests all the time. You get a laser, lots of, thickness of aluminum, thicknesses of stainless, and whatever you've got, like I bought a bunch of 20 gauge stainless. I've got a bunch of some 090 and some 060 aluminum. You can pretty well bet on it. Those are the things. And I've got 16 gauge cold rolled, 18, 20 gauge cold rolled. And I've got a little bit of some hot rolled thicker stuff here. No full sheets, because again, I'm not really set up to deal with full sheets, but I got some 3/8, some half, quarter, 3/16 drops in various sizes that I can get some things out of. But the point I was going to say is, you can pretty much bet, like every new project that comes along, it's like, hey man, could you cut me a half a sheet's worth of these or whatever? And I'd love to be able to knock those jobs out like that. But, you need to have a good stock of stuff is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, as you can see, I'm quite long-winded, got lots of stuff to say here this morning, here on the Sunday morning. One last thing I was going to show you about with the shop is, I've got all these trees out here on this property, and you can see the property is, it's got the barn on it, which is, kind of, I don't know, for whatever reason, sentimentally, I like it. And I use it. I have a lot of stuff stored in there, that I can keep out of the shop. And that's how, one of the ways I keep my shop clean is just keeping all the clutter out in the barn. And now it's kind of gotten cluttered up a little bit. But you can see all these trees here that probably help hold the barn up, or the barn helps hold them up. Either way, there's just a lot of unhealthy trees on this entire property. And there's one right here, you can see right here, that had a limb that was kind of half broken over for a while, and then here in the last week or two it came down. You can see it there. I've got this big oak here that the entire left side of it is dead. The base of it at the trunk, the root system down there, had termites in it, but it does still get leaves, and the right side of it mostly seems to be good. But at some point, it's gonna, unfortunately, it's such a nice big tree. It would be great if it was healthy, but it's not. And of course you can see back here, oh my gosh, man, it's just one, like in the last 6 months, all this stuff has come down. And of course I've not maintained any of it. You can see what I've been doing lately. Lots of offcuts, and I got even more stacked up against the barn. So anyway, I'm getting to a point here in a minute. So you can see all of these, that whole 3 or 4, I don't know if that was one tree with those 3 sprouts out of it, or if it's 3 separate trees there or what. But that one's been down for a while. This one here is down, but was caught by that limb on that tree. And of course those are leaning up against that tree there. I'm not too concerned about any of that really. I mean, other than it just looks redneck, which I am a redneck. And one of these days though, I'm gonna quit spending money on shop stuff and machines, and I'll take the time, spend some money, do what I gotta do to get all this cleaned up and make it really nice on the outside. You know what I mean? So my main concern is around the shop, and especially in the living area. If I were to take a hit with one of these trees against the shop here, you can repair, this is, you know what I mean? It's a metal building. You can repair it fairly easily. You still wouldn't want to have the hassle of it, but it could be repaired and not that big of a deal. So I'm going to get this limb cut off right here. But one of the main issues I've got is all these trees along this fence line are overburdened with all this vine growth, if you see that. And those vines are extremely hardy. I mean, they are very strong and rough and all that. And you can see I've got, various wood piles, scrap piles of down limbs and things. And but I want to show you a couple of trees back here. And this is on the back side of the shop, you know, air compressors, dust collector, all that. I don't show a lot of this kind of stuff in videos, but you can see this tree right here. That's the Masonic Lodge next door to me right there. And you can see that tree is leaned all the way over. You can see not only is it pulled that way, it was, the whole trunk is bent that way because of those vines pulling down on it. And you see how thick the vines are in here. And so then I got this tree. So you can see this tree right here, the limbs broken over and it's leaned into these. You can see this tree right here is going way up and, you know, pulled over. And but the main one I'm worried about is this big one right here, because it's leaning this way. This one here that's leaning over, all that is kind of leaning that way and would get pulled that way if, you know, if it were to come down. But anyway, long story short, this week I've got Wednesday, supposedly, hopefully if the weather holds up. This area tends to get a little soft and wet, you know. But hopefully the weather will hold up out here this week and these guys can get in here and get some of these trees cleaned up. And I've already got, you know, a bunch of branches and limbs and things that have fell down and started a pile right there. So I'm just gonna do a burn on it. You know, these trees are not good for anything. They're half rotted and they're not of a good quality that could be used for anything really, possibly firewood. But, you know, I just want to get as little as possible spent, get them down, get them into, you know, decent sized log sections and drag them out here on a pile and burn it all. So anyway, guys, that is the plan. Let me know if you got any thoughts on any of this stuff. Kind of looking forward to getting this extra expansion here, and so that'll be good. And you know, you can see this old part of a pasture fence and a, you know, and a gate right there. I kind of like that, you know, because it just has the history of this property, which it used to be a doctor that and a family that lived here, and this was the house was right there, the barn was there, and all this acreage that's on the other side over here was all a part of the farm. Now it's all been separated off. This is kind of on its own lot. There's about, I think, 2.5 acres that I have here. But this was all part of it, you know, this old gate and all that. You can see part of it over there as well, leading into the barn. And I don't know, I hate to just tear it all down. There used to be an old general store here that last operated, I think, in the 50s. And you can see that there's bricks all around. There's actually a complete brick walkway about 12 inches under this topsoil here that used to be, you know, the level of the surface. Of course, over the years it all got filled in and pushed over and whatever. You can see more of it right there. But I don't know, you know, maybe I'm just being overly sentimental for no reason, and all this should just be cleared out. I mean, all these trees right here are crap and are gonna fall over eventually anyway. I'm not too worried about them, you know, from the standpoint of causing any damage, because they're far enough away from the shop. But it's really all those along there that are the main concern. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Hope you guys are doing good on this Sunday, and we'll talk to you soon.